Welcome back to my monastery. Today you've come to learn some new spells. Well, my knowledge is yours. Yes, let's, Neve, fetch me that over there. Oh yes. Lir. Our first set of spells come from quite the character I met on my adventures. A Lir Manach Ulster, a man who had been in quite an unfortunate accident as a child, his soul torn, half ripped away from him, plunged into Shadowfell. Despite that, or perhaps because of it, Lir was quite the considerable spellcaster, and by the time I met him he had invented spells that only he knew how to cast, but was willing to teach me how they worked for enough coin. I told him I'd gladly host him and pay him if he would come to my monastery and teach me for a month. Luckily, he agreed, and we spent the month going over 3 spells. I was able to cast and learn the first one myself, but unfortunately the other 2 were well out of my wheelhouse, and as such it took me longer to write them out. But Lee was a nice enough man to explain every detail of these spells, so that I may store them here in my monastery. Someday I hope to return to him, and spend another month learning what else he has to know. But for now I have these 3 fruits of my labor. The first spell is one he calls Achromatic Haze. By pouring a pinch of salt over burnt cedar and charging it with magical energies, smoke appears around the stick and is siphoned into the hand pouring the salt. The illusion of a grey miasma is able to be placed where the caster chooses, causing the room to lose its color and get dimmer. I have seen Lir able to keep this smoky illusion for over an hour, but as of yet, my students have only been able to keep it for a maximum of 10 minutes. This smoke is still an illusion, however, and if realized for what it is, the dimming effect can be seen through. But this does have its benefits. Unlike fog cloud, it can be cast underwater, by instead plunging the stick into a bag of salt, or if in the ocean, just having the stick on hand. Plus, without needing to say anything or move, the spell can be very subtle to cast. Yes, the next spell. The next spell he showed me was one he'd been working on and one he was very proud of. For since he was an early adventurer, he'd been able to morph shadows into hounds, but these hounds were weak and could be dispersed easily. So in his desire to have a more substantial pack, he set himself to create a hound of shadows that was much stronger. And that he did. By casting this spell, he's able to take rolling inky blackness and create a hound that you would swear could take the form of that you most fear. By whistling 4 clear notes, taking 10 foot of silk and rope, and throwing it into his own shadow, a collar is made somewhere in that darkness, and after some time, the Large Hound springs to life. The beast is one I had never seen before, and spent much time researching it on its own. And in my research, I did find one very interesting quirk. When struck with radiant damage or affected by the daylight spell, the silk rope acts as both collar and spine, becoming very visible. This last spell, I need to find someone who's able to cast it. For neither myself nor any of my students have been able to cast, making it truly Leah's spell. Although I have been informed by my closest wizarding friends it's very possible to cast, it just requires a connection from the caster itself to the Shadowfell. To cast Lir's overwhelming darkness, you need an opal of considerable size formed in the Shadowfell, for even with his soul existing there, it still requires a more direct connection. Using the opal as a conduit, you must chant these words: "Come to me, my nightmares, and show the sane you are still here to fear." All while drawing a circle in front of you with an opal and punching through it with an open palm in your other hand. Do this, and you create a gate on the ground and one in the air, summoning a column of pure darkness and terror from somewhere in the depths of that shadowy abyss. Anyone who stays inside this column is racked with sounds and images you will never truly forget. The twisted things conjured from this spell are enough to make even the strongest men stop dead in their tracks. Hoping to any and all gods that they will not be suffering a fate worse than death at the cruel imaginations of whatever is crawling around in that cursed void. Worst of all, any creature who dies from this assault simply vanishes when the spell is dismissed. Yes, sorry. What's that? Absolutely you can make your own copy. There's a desk and a quill over there. Happy readings. And if you need anything else, I'll be over there. I have another student to look after. Thank you for your time.